more recently, since we started talking about the aspect of fire, so going into the basis of what fire actually is. Fire has 3 different parts that make it. Mm. There's a fuel source, there's a spark, and there's oxygen. And with which I thought was kind of funny when you said you open up the Bible and it describes how you're supposed to live. Mm. I actually titled this one, Fire Describes Our Ideal Way of Life. Mm. And that's actually the title. I didn't make it up. I can show you. But I went through it, and we really like the aspect of fire. Right. And it burns, and it even when the flames itself look like it's gone, it can always be rekindled. Mm-hmm. And I always like that aspect of it. But so breaking it down into the 3 parts, heat and the spark. Is our initial belief. It's, you know what, there's more than me, and God is real. You know, he's done so much for me, I'm going to push forward, I'm going to believe. And then there's the next aspect, which is the fuel itself. And that's the knowledge. You learn more, you open up the Bible as you have that faith and you consume the knowledge. And then the third being the oxygen, which is the breath of God or the relationship with God in prayer. With fire, the really cool thing about fire is if you take away any of the aspects, heat, fuel, or oxygen, the fire itself cannot be. Mm-hmm. It's impossible. Right. And in a life, if you want to have true faith, you have to find balance between those 3. Mm-hmm. You have to have a spark. Yeah. You have to continuously consume knowledge, mm-hmm. and you have to keep that relationship. I went on the right talking about how I have a really bad issue with prayer. I always found it. I was the one always asking for things and not considering why I needed them. And then it got to a point where I was considering it, and I felt sick. Because all I was doing was, it was supposed to be a relationship, and that's how it was explained to me. So I felt guilty about the fact that I wasn't bringing anything to the relationship. Okay. And I got sick, because all I did every single time I talked to him, and I could only imagine myself coming to me complaining.
Right. Complaining, asking. Right. Like no conversation.
Yeah. Nothing. It's one of those things in a relationship. If I'm going to talk to either one of you guys and I want to talk to you about my issues, that's fine. Mm-hmm. There are times where I'm just going to have a lot of issues, but there's going to be times that there's good times too. And there's going to be times where I just want to talk to you and update you. And just, hey, watch over me, think about me, let's talk about this, get really excited about things. And that was something I never had in my prayer life. Still struggling with it, but it's one of those continuous things. And
it's still something you're made aware of.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. And I think a lot of people, one of the main verses, of course I can never remember where it is, but it talks about mediocre faith. And how God would much rather just spit you out of his mouth because you decide not to be hot or cold. Mm-hmm. And in this aspect of fire, if you are missing one of those, you're not hot. Mm-hmm. You can be sitting there with enough oxygen and enough fuel, but if you don't have faith, the actual initial spark, there's no fire, and you're just lukewarm, and he wants to spit you out. And you have to balance all 3 of those. Mm-hmm. And especially, you may have a roaring fire, but if you don't keep balance between those 3, your fire will dwindle, and it will not, I'm not going to say go out, but it becomes embers. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why we went with the living ember, right? Because you're still alive. Right. We just want to bring you back.
Yeah, you're not just there anymore. You're coming back from being extinguished, basically.
You made me think of I'm trying to remember. There was some song lyrics. A song by NF, who's a rapper. But the song is called "Oh Lord," and it's funny. It's ironic that that's the title because part of it is like the whole thing is he's speaking on God's behalf, which is he's saying, people will sit in their watching the news in our living rooms on the big screens and talk about if God's really real, then where is he? But we see the same God that we say might not even exist becomes real to us only when we're dying in bed. And so it's this idea that we're sleeping in pews while he's never sleeping. And she says that too. I can't take that. That's his lyric. And then he says it's hard to answer prayers when nobody's praying to you. So it's the idea of we expect God to do his job as if that's our relationship with him. It's a business relationship.
Right. It's definitely like a give and a taker.
Exactly.
We only take, he only gives.
It's like if you're God, why don't you be God? Not if you're God, I want to know you more.
That's like asking why does God let bad things happen?
That's a whole. That's a
different topic.
That's a whole.
It's true.
Tune in next week.
That will be coming. That'll be good. That will be good.
So next
I'm actually really excited for that one. That'll be really
There's
good.
A lot of topics I'm excited for.
Yeah.
The more we keep talking, the more I'm like, there are things to discuss. That's dope. I mean, I don't know who said it. It was talking about asking him. Do you think it's wrong to ask God for things?
No.
Okay.
No, but there has to be more than just that.
Right.
There has to be like I said in if I'm going to have a relationship with either one of you guys, there has to be more than just the business side. There has to be more than just the friendship side. There has to be a support side as well.
Right.
There are going to be times where I come up to you guys, I'm just like, hey guys, I'm doing a lot of renovations on my house. I'm just tired and I'm hurting. But there has to be times where we just sit down and play video games and have fun.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's and I'm glad that you brought up our understanding of what a good relationship looks like, because whenever I talk about what is your relationship with God supposed to look like, honestly, I think that comparing it to a marriage is not a bad thing, but not in the sense that we're already married, but kind of leading up to it. Simply because the Bible kind of does hint at that, actually. It hints that we're the bride of Christ.
So much hint as it.
Yeah, I was like, it's there. But then also the fact that exactly what you just said, that when you're in a relationship, you don't just, or let me phrase that, if you're a good partner in a relationship, you don't just expect, things of the other person because they're your partner in the relationship. You expect things of them out of a faith in them because of who they are to you and because of who you are to them and because of what you know that you are to them. In a loving relationship, you're their lover, and you understand that, and so you understand that their heart is for you, and so it's not this, all right, this is your duty, so please make sure you do it, and I'll do my job. But that's how a lot of people view the big guy in the sky. Is they're like, you know what, he's doing him, I'm doing me.
It's very detached.
Absolutely.
It's very detached. It's like pen pals in a weird way. You're only writing letters to each other. But there aside from a quick convo every once in a blue moon, there is nothing else there. It's very much a detached relationship. Yeah.
Yep. And that's in every culture and in every religion, spiritual setting, everything. It always it's weird. Humans always kind of default to that. And I think it's because we try to elevate God. People try to elevate the divine and try to push him away from humanity because in their way, it's their way of keeping him divine in their minds. When God, the term Emmanuel in the Bible, it means God with us. And God, he is divine, but he longs to be with us.
It's restricting the relationship for the sake of keeping him up there, but in turn, you're doing the exact opposite
of what he wants.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's fair. The reason why I ask about if you think it's wrong to ask is because growing up, I always came across people who always said it was wrong to ask God anything. I can never ask him anything. Kind of for in a weird stretch, the mentality of all you ever do is come from problems, blah blah blah. But like with every relationship, naturally, you in addition to talking, having a relationship, hanging out, doing whatever, there's also asking and talking and discussing and requesting, etc. I mean, God asks things of us all the time.
It's true.
Like that is part of that relationship. For
That's
us
true.
to not ask, I understand why you were saying that. But for people to feel bad about asking, even though they also have a relationship, is also very backwards because of the fact that God asked us.
Right.
He asked us to go out into the world.
Yeah.
He asked us to, represent him. He asked us to, blah, blah, blah. There's lists of things that he asks us to. And it can even be if you're a specific type of ministry, missions or whatever, going out to China, Africa, wherever in the planet that he's asking you to go to, he's asking you to go. For you not to ask something back in return is not disrespectful. He wants that because he wants to be on that give and take relationship with you. But in turn of you giving and taking, he asks the same.
I think as your faith grows and you move closer to a godly aspect, being more and more in the image of God himself. I think as you go through that kind of growth, you need to ask. Because I'm pretty sure there's many people out there who feel that they have a really strong faith.
Sure.
And they feel like they're stuck. Like they're still going out, they're still doing this.
Right, no, I get that. Yeah.
They're still going out into the community. They're doing everything that they think is above and beyond, but they don't feel any growth. And unless you ask, you don't get. If it's kind of like people who talk about, hey, I'm going to win the lottery, but they never go out and buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah. If
you don't ask, it may happen because it's God's will, but he may be waiting for you to ask. And like you were saying, there's an issue with asking too much.
Sure.
But when talking to a family member that and love and loves you back, if you are in a tough spot, they're going to help you where they can.
Yeah.
Right. And it may not be the spot that you want them to.
Yeah.
But they will do what they can for you. But you need to ask.
Yeah.
It's humbling yourself. At the end of the day, it's humbling yourself to ask that, because a lot of the times pride gets in the way too when you're afraid to ask questions. Afraid to ask for help. Because you either you don't want to seem lesser to them, not for fear of they're going to look down on you, but you want to be able to look good to them.
Right.
Of like, man, I want to make my dad proud. I don't want to ask him for help. I want him to be proud of me knowing that I did this myself. But there's stuff in that realm that will keep us from asking. And a relationship with God should look like, a parent to a child. It should look like two best friends. It should look like, a teacher to a student. It should look like, all these different roles, because it's supposed to be the relationship. It's supposed to be the example for relationships in general. Whether that is from a superior to an employee.
I just thought of a really interesting. Okay.
You can't have a gleam in your eye and not expect me to ask you what.
There's different kinds of love for different kinds of situations and different kinds of relationships.
Sure.
So, I don't know if you guys have ever played Trivial Pursuit.
I want to say
there's a reason. But it's like 6 different wedges that you put into like your little tray, and every single time you answer a question, you put a wedge in.
Okay.
So the different wedges are the different kinds of love. Whether it's marital love, whether it's best friend love, parent love, sibling love, whatever it is. There's all of these different kinds of love, and they're all in your heart. And I'm married, and I absolutely love my wife, but I can't say that she's the center of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I want her to be but it's there's certain kinds of love that I can't give her, and it's because she's a wedge, and he is the tray that encompasses all that love.
That's cool.
It's not the fact that he wants to be the center of your life, even though he does. He is the center of your life. But it's the fact that he should be cradling and holding all that love that you receive.
Yeah, I like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that a lot.
It also states that, like you were saying, like he is every single kind of love. He is every single kind of relationship.
Sure.
We should yearn after him. We should play with him whenever we talk. Like there's all different kinds of relationships that we can have with him because he is every single one of those relationships. Because he is love. He's not just familial love, he's best friend love. He's marital love. He is every single kind of love. He just is love.
I mean, speaking of love, I mean, it goes back to, I thought in my head a little bit ago, of it's, when we're talking about faith, it's hard to separate it from trust. It's hard to separate it from love. It's hard to separate it from belief. It's hard to separate. Everything is so encompassing with each other. To have it stand on its own seems impossible sometimes because, why do we have faith? Because we trust. Why do we have faith? Because we know he loves us. Why do we have faith? Because, we believe that he's going to do the blah, blah. They're so complementary, I guess is what the word is.
Right, it's not meant to be alone.
Right. Right. There's not supposed to be just faith. There's supposed to be faith and love and trust and, humility and all these different attributes of a relationship. And it comes down to a relationship again. Like all those. I'll put this on because I'm not drinking it. I'm teasing myself with water the entire time. It's just not happening. I have not stopped thinking about it.
Someday.
In a world.
Oh my God. But when it comes down to faith, it comes down to that more overwhelming question of, our relationship with God, our relationship with Christ. And I guess in a way it's a good segue in, I'm going to use it for this reason and for this purpose I think it's Matthew 16:15. It's in Evernote. It's toward the top where I wrote. Is it Matthew 16:15? Yeah. Or, no, you're in that place.
16:15.
Yeah. It's right there at the bottom. Where Jesus is, he says, "Who do you say I am?" Kind of a deal. In our minds, who do you say Jesus is? Like, who is Jesus to you? I guess is where I'm kind of getting at.
Oh man.
Makes you think.
Oh yeah.
There's so much to say.
Words aren't enough.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's like he's both all I can say and what I can't say.
Before it does.
Huh?
Are you asking the time or just how long it does?
No,
it's late. We gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's getting late. So
I got you.
We'll end this.
I was about to say you're also getting off topic of faith. And
That's true.
It's true.
We can actually end it then and then continue the conversation next week.
You know what? That's okay. So then maybe we should talk about this another time.
Yes. Okay. Finishing thoughts, perhaps.
Here, read this. This is translating his gesture.
Foundations of faith. What is it? Faith is a balancing act, which is why our ministry is associated with fire. Fire has many places in the Bible, anywhere from God's wrath to a bush that he uses to communicate with Moses. We want to be a fire that fits God's purpose to be used by God how he sees fit. My brain had a complete lapse. But to do, wow, my brain is not working. Just read the last bit. My brain just major blue screen.
We want to be a fire that fits God's purpose, to be used by God how he sees fit. But to do that, our faith needs to balance and our life needs to balance. Our faith needs all three of those aspects of believing in him and wanting to be saved and be better, We need the fuel, which is the knowledge, and to be able to grow in Him, and then the oxygen and the relationship with God Himself. But our life and our relationships also need that same balance.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, guys, thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Hope to see you again next week.
Or if you're just finding this video and you want to see us streaming, going to be streaming on Sundays with the Twitch channel. Is it Living Ember Ministries? All one word, right?
Yes, capitalize each word.
Oh gosh, please. You
The
won't
link will
find
be
it.
the link will be in the description, so don't have to worry too much about spelling.
Okay.
Hope to see you then, and don't forget to smolder.
It was more quizzical to smolder, like, am I smoldering?